In this next video tutorial, we're going to add some specific CSS rules in order to control things like rollover colors in our navigation bars and the top and the bottom to make sure that those are white and then turn colors as we do things. Now, it's a little tricky what we're going to do, so make sure that you follow this tutorial and I'll try and go slow. Let's begin by closing all of the pages except for the index.html file. If you go to Style Sheet and close it over on the top right, you'll see that that's closed. Trails and Photos all closed, because I always want to start with the index.html file. You'll notice in a minute that the Style Sheet will automatically pop up after we've made some changes. But the very first thing that we need to do is we need to do a little bit of code changes to this file to make this work. So I'm going to go up to where it says About, and I'm going to click on either About, Trails, or Photos, and you'll see that you get some tags down here. Let's click on the TD tag. That stands for the Table Cell tag. You'll notice now that we get a slightly orange selection around that table cell. Now, because we need to add some very particular code here, what we need to do is we need to go either to our code view or split view, or we can even add it one other way. So I'm going to go to our split view and show you that now that we have that whole area selected, it shows me all the code which has been selected. And what I'm really interested in is the part that says TD align center and background color equals 3399cc. Now, I can also show this another way by right-clicking where it says TD below, where we've selected the tag, and from that menu choosing the Quick Tag Editor. Notice that it says the same thing as we have above. It just looks a little bit different, because this way it's isolating just the tag that we want to change. But I'm going to go down to my Quick Tag Editor, and right before a line I'm going to click and I'm going to put in class equals navigation. Or even, how about navbar? That works pretty well. Navbar. Now, we will be using this same class somewhere else in the future, but we need to create it we need to create it in our CSS in just a minute. So let's hit enter, and you'll see that we have made some change to the code. It now says TD class equals navbar, but there is no visual change. There won't be any visual change until we actually start adding our style sheets. So what we're concerned with is adding some CSS styles so that we can control the way that our navigation looks. And what we want it to do is we want it to be a white link with possibly a maybe some sort of color, hover color that looks a little bit differently than what we have right now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over to our right where it has our style sheet, and I want you to see it says A hover visited and A active. These are going to be very important. A link, hover, visited, and active. And we're going to be using those, but the code that we put in will be a little bit more tricky. So let's go to the black New CSS Rule Plus tool there. Click on it. And you'll see that right now my selector says something. Yours might say class right now, and I'm on advanced. Let's click on advanced because we're going to type in exactly what we want. We're going to put in navbar by itself and hit OK. Now immediately what I want to do is make this text white. So color white and hit OK. You'll see that the bars, the little pipes that we've made, are now white, but the links are still blue. So that's something that we're going to change. However, at the bottom, I want you to notice that we have all the text for our footer is also black. But what we're going to do is we're going to make that text white by using the same CSS style as navbar. The way we do this is by going to the bottom, clicking on the TD tag, and going to where it says Style, and choosing the navbar style that we have. And all of a sudden you'll see that that text is turned white. The link is still blue, but we'll fix that here in a little bit. So let's go ahead to the next part. Now what we want to do is we want to create what are called our pseudo class links. Pseudolinks, these are link, hover, visited, and active for our navigation. So I'm going to create a new CSS rule, and this time it'll be dot navbar a space a and then link. Now I'm also going to put in a comma, and I'm going to type that all again, dot navbar space a, and now I'm going to put visited. This is because I want my links, whether they've been visited or not, to look exactly the same. Now I click OK, and now let's say that these particular links are going to be yellow. If I click Apply, you should now see that we have yellow text that appears. I'm also going to click on None for my decoration. Now I click OK, and now our next step is to go back to our CSS rules, and we're going to create a dot navbar a, and this will have the colon, hover. Click OK, and change your color to white. If I hit OK now, you won't notice any visual change until we actually test this website. Now notice that I have my style sheet up and it's got the asterisks. That's because I have two files that are open when I start editing CSS. And in order to test this website, I really need both files to be saved. So if I go back up to Preview in Internet Explorer, it should come up with a warning that says Save Changes to Index, and you hit Yes. And it will say, some files need to be accurately previewed, need to be saved as well. And that's the CSS style. So it asks us if we want to save them now, and we hit Yes. So let's go look at Internet Explorer. Click on the Allow Blocked Content. Yes. And here's the hovers for the trails and photos. The cool thing about this is if we look down at the bottom, we also have that same effect applied to the text at the bottom. So we have navbar around the top and the bottom. Now, in traditional web design, you would not give them the same thing. You'd probably call the one at the top navbar and the one at the bottom footer, but we've done it just to simplify our life just a little bit. So let's go on to our next video tutorial in just a moment. I believe that, actually, first, before we do that, we need to check all of our other pages. I should have thought about that. If I go to Chimney Rock, back to Internet Explorer, you'll notice that I have About, Trails, and Photos. The cool thing about using an external style sheet is these styles are automatically linked to the other pages. At least they should be. Might be that I've never linked my different pages. So let me open up Photos. And it does say that it's linked. I know what the problem is that I've never changed the TD to be given the same style as before. So I do need to do that. So let's click on the different pages. We need Photos open and we need Trails open. We need to click somewhere in the About section or in the navigation bar, click on the TD and assign it the style of navbar. We also need to do that with the footer. So you click somewhere within the footer, click on TD and go to Style and choose navbar. Now we can save that page and go to the Photos page and do the same thing. So we've clicked on our navbar, we click on TD, we go to Style, navbar, down to the bottom, click somewhere within the footer section, click on TD, and then Style, navbar. Now we've created all the changes that we need to make, and if we go back to Internet Explorer and preview, now you should see that we have the same CSS and styles on all the different pages. and that's quite nice. Now, of course, we can always adjust the colors for our different rollover effects at any time in the CSS, and now they'll cascade to all the different pages. And that's the power of using CSS in general. So now in the next video, we will actually add some real content to our pages.